So I'm just gonna start with. I'm not gonna bother with all the general Blender stuff. There's a million places you can go to do that. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
jump into the stuff related to sculpting.
Yeah.
So this is a. I'm gonna come up to File, and I'm gonna go to Defaults, and I'm gonna load factory settings. Bam. So
All right.
now it's Blender as if you just downloaded it.
All right.
One caveat: this is the 2.9 alpha, and I'm using the alpha because um, 2.83 and beyond has some sculpting features that are not in the stable release right now.
Mm-hmm.
And 2.83 comes out on Wednesday, and most of the features I'm going to show you will be in 2.83. I think the only one that won't be in it is the multi-resolution modifier, but uh, probably going to be using Dynatopo most of the time anyway. So
Yeah.
let's take a look here. So the first thing I'm going to show you is if you hit Control New, or if you come up to File and go to New, you can pick different defaults, and there's a sculpting one. And if you're just going to focus on sculpting, I recommend just starting with the sculpting tab. And then you're right.
All
Brings you in this
right.
environment. It's already set up. And if you want to apply some materials later, there's a shading tab next to it.
Nice.
And if you need to add
Nice.
more tabs, so say you're done with all that and you want to set up a scene, you can just hit the plus button. And just like we hit Control New, it'll show you the different excuse me, it'll show you the different options. You can just come up to general and you can add any of them. If you want just the default view, you can hit layout, and now you have the default layout.
Cool.
uh, yeah, so I found with sculpting it's best to just keep things as decluttered as you possibly can.
Yeah. Lots of space.
Yes.
Learn the
uh,
shortcuts.
and then so the next thing before we get into sculpting, I'm going to go over some really quick settings to go over. So if I go into, I'm just going to go into object mode. If I want to go into wireframe, I got to come up here and I got to come all the way down to wireframe because this does not have a shortcut. I got to turn this on. I'm not sure why it's not showing us a wireframe. Interesting. So I'm not
Huh.
sure why the sculpture isn't showing us wireframe, but you can see here that I turned the wireframe on. And that's really annoying, right? So you can just right click on anything and assign a shortcut.
Oh,
And
nice.
in Blender, Shift F doesn't do anything, so I like to come in and hit Shift F, and now Shift F will turn wireframe on and off.
Nice.
The one problem with that is that only works in object mode. So if I come back to my sphere and I go to sculpt mode and I want this to be wireframe, I got to come over here to my object properties, viewport display, and I got to come down here and turn on wireframe, right? A
Mm-hmm.
little annoying. And I don't necessarily want to add this to a shortcut, but what I can do instead is right click and I could say add to quick favorites. And now what that does is if I hit Q to bring up my quick favorites, now it's up here. So wherever the mouse is, the cursor, I can
Nice.
just hit Q
Mm-hmm.
and I'll bring up that list. And for sculpting, there's a number of things you're going to want to add to your quick favorites. Um, but it is context sensitive. So if I go into object mode and I hit Q, that is not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So the quick favorites are relative to whatever mode you're in when you add them.
Mm. Okay.
Um, so one really specific one that you want to add while in sculpt mode is up in edit. There's this box right here that says locked object modes. What this does is it prevents you from accidentally selecting objects that are not in the same mode that you're already in.
Ah.
And for sculpting, that's really annoying because so if you take ZBrush, if I was in ZBrush and I was sculpting these two objects, if I want to come over here, I can just alt click
Yeah.
and select it, and I can start sculpting on it. But in Blender, by default, with this on, I can't select an object. I'm only on this object. It won't let me come over here. Did just then for some reason. Well, I guess if you double click, it works. Weird. I didn't know that.
Huh.
Or we're gonna have a little experiment. I think maybe I just learned something new. So I'm gonna put this into sculpt mode. This is already in sculpt mode. Okay, weird. Okay, so I guess you don't have to. I guess you can just double alt click and it'll do the same thing.
Nice.
Well, this turned off, or it is already off. I'm gonna turn it back on. Okay. Weird. Weird. Well, I'm gonna add it to my quick favorites anyway. Normally with that, it might be because this is an alpha.
Yeah.
But in the current version of Blender, if you have that on, it's impossible to select between them.
Gotcha.
Weird. Anyway, well, that's how you select between objects.
Got it.
Just alt click. If there's an overlap, it'll ask you which one you want.
Nice.
And of course, I can come up here and do the same thing if I want to just do it from the outliner. So that's how you have multiple objects. Let's see what's next. Oh, that's right. Let's go into... Just jump into the brushes. Let's start a new file here. So if I drag this out, pull right here, you got all your tools, nice and concise. If I pull it out even more, it's going to show you the names of all the brushes.
Nice.
So I'm just going to leave this out like this for now. I think you need to understand about brushes is these aren't actually the brushes. These are tools. The brushes are inside the tools. And by default, currently, each tool only has one brush assigned to it. So if I click on Draw, you see up here it says Sculpt Draw. That's the brush that's assigned. If I click on this little icon, it'll show me my library of brushes that are under that tool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and right now it's only one. But what I can do, if I come over to... Actually, can I do it from here? Cannot. Okay, if I come over to my tool settings, and I see I have the Sculpt Draw brush assigned, I can duplicate it, and now I have another one. And I can name it whatever I want. And then this little shield icon here, this will protect the brush. So Blender by default, whenever you close it, it will delete any stray data. So if you create any nodes, any materials, any brushes that are not being used, it will get rid of them. It'll purge them when you close the file. So when you reopen the document, anything that you don't shield will be gone. And that's per document.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Got it.
So
be sure to shield
now if
my
I come down
brushes.
here, yeah. And this is called fake user. So this little F you see in front of Sculpt Draw, that stands for fake user. And fake user is Blender's way of saying, hey, don't get rid of this. Keep this in the document.
Nice.
Beside my Sculpt Draw brush and my custom brush. So I'm just going to draw with the Sculpt Draw just so we can see what it does. All right, I think it's pretty close to ZBrush's Inflate brush. It's got that really consistent kind of like swelling curve.
Yeah. Kind of like the standard brush too. It's got that smooth tube-like sort of addition, yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to subdivide this a couple times. So this is the multi-resolution. You see it's got a bunch of familiar features: subdivide simple, delete higher. I believe it's still broken. So the way the multi-resolution works right now is you can go up cleanly, but you really can't go back down.
Gotcha. So if that's the case, would it be safer to go up and then just delete lower and stick with what you've got?
Yes.
Okay.
Which for me, at least when I'm using ZBrush, that's how I do it anyway.
Yeah.
I usually don't move up to the next detail level until I'm like done.
Yeah.
With like the level I'm at, but
yeah,
I suppose if you want to work more dynamically, you're out of luck.
Yeah.
All right, so here you can see really nice, like you can see what that brush does. So now we're going to come over to our custom brush. Oop. think when I controlled Z on accident and lost my name. So I'm just going to rename it Custom Brush. And now we're going to change this. So up here is all of our brush settings. So you have your radius, your strength. If you want, you can just come up here and modify it manually. Or you can hit F to increase or decrease the size. And then Shift F. I said it doesn't have a shortcut. It does not. Shift F does not have a shortcut in object mode. In sculpt mode, Shift F increases the strength of your brush. So you can see as I bring it in, it fades out. As I pull it out, it gets darker.
Yeah.
And that white line coming up here is your fall off.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. And if I come up here to fall off, I can change it. So I can make it constant. So now if I hit Shift F, you can see it's just a square, and it's really, really obvious that
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
If I change it to whatever I want, any of these, you can make a custom one. So I roll a graph here. I could make say I want to make like a donut. I don't have any alphas and I don't feel like making one. I can just kind of go like that. All right.
That's nice. It's nice that all the curve and all that you can see, it almost encourages you to play around with the brush settings because it's all out in the open.
Yes.
In ZBrush, you got to really look for that. You got to like dig in to find the custom settings.
And then, so on the fall off, there's sphere and projected. So sphere is by default. It's pretty much what you'd expect the fall off to be. Projected is infinite plane. So in ZBrush, like you have the option to have your fall off just go through the viewport infinitely.
Mm-hmm.
That's what projected is on this. So this is going, the fall off goes through the viewport. You can see when I did that, it kind of pushed through.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
So I'm gonna go through these. We're gonna make a like splatter texture brush. We're gonna go through that because that's gonna show you everything. So first we're gonna go into the brush settings and hardness. Is that new? I don't remember that. Interesting. I'm gonna go through the brush settings that I know. I've never seen this hardness before. I think that's brand new. That's the fun thing about using the nightly builds. New shit just pops in all the time.
And if you're on Steam, that just pops in automatically, right? Just updates. Like you were saying before.
Yeah, well, for the stable builds. So Steam.
Oh, okay.
I don't believe it gives you the option. I have a script that downloads the nightly builds to my desktop.
That's awesome.
So every time they update it, the script just downloads it automatically and unzips it to my desktop.
That's awesome.
But with Steam, you always have the stable version, and I do recommend using the stable version. The alpha crashes all the time. So you're in the general brush settings here. You have, we'll start with the sculpt plane. So there's view plane. So this will project from the view. So if I brush right here, there's nothing happening. Let's give it that nice hard fall off. Interesting.
Was the hardness turned all the way down? Is that what happened?
You know what? That might be it. I think I probably want to keep it at 0.5. All right. Start a new document. Okay, really quickly. I'm just going to come up to our basic draw brush, and I'm going to come over to my tool settings. I'm going to hit this little icon right here to duplicate it. Custom, and come to brush settings. So hardness is already at 0. I'm gonna add a multi. Actually, yeah, because dyne tempo can be pretty taxing. So I'm just gonna add a multi-resolution and I'll subdivide it twice, and then I'm just going to apply. The other annoying thing about the multi-res modifier right now is you cannot apply it in sculpt mode. So you have to leave, go to object mode. And I lost all my settings. Change shortcut. Don't know why it doesn't show a wireframe on this object. That confuses me. That's not important. They can't see it, but it has not applied the subdivisions. So I have to come over here to preview and put it up to the same number of subdivisions I already subdivided. And then if I hit apply visual geometry to mesh, that applies all of your modifiers. Now it's been applied, excuse me.
Gotcha.
So now all that detail is there.
Yeah. That's funny. The little differences there. The Blender, the way that it thinks.
Yeah, that I believe is going to be changed. At some point, you will be able to apply it within sculpt mode. But for the time being, it's all about dying topo, but we'll get there. Cool. After we make the brush, we'll switch over to dying topo. All right, so we're going to brush. And again, if I go to... So area planes, pretty much by default, it's going to look at the normals of your object. You can see the cursor moves around three-dimensionally, and it's going to sculpt based on the direction of the plane that you sculpt on.
Mm-hmm.
And if you change it to view plane, it's going to project from the screen, I believe. Probably work better with a textured brush. It's going to add it. Try. Yeah, so you can see as I was drawing, it's kind of drawing farther down. Or if I change it to... Oh, it's on area plane again. View plane. I should have thought of a better example to demonstrate that. I'm going to leave it on area plane most of the time anyway. Really, we should probably I should have gone to stroke. So there's... We'll go back to our custom brush. I don't know why it keeps dropping the name. But there's dots. Pretty familiar, right? Just like ZBrush. And of course, if I change the spacing, or no, we go to drag dot, you can choose where you want to put it.
That's cool.
That space is where we can change the spacing. So I think this is closest to freehand in ZBrush.
Yeah.
If I bring the spacing up, it'll space it out.
Yeah.
And of course, if I add like a alpha, I could put like a little stitch alpha on there, and it will.
Nice.
Yeah. Stitches that whatever. Yeah.
Like for clothing and fabric and stuff. That's perfect.
Let's see. And then jitter will. You usually want to keep this pretty low, but bring this up to 45. It'll randomly place based on the jitter distance that you set. So this is. There isn't like a spray function, like ZBrush has a spray option.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't one in Blender by default, but you can build one by putting the jitter up, and then we want to give this some random. Let's see. When we add a texture, we can randomize how the texture is applied, how like the strength of it, the rotation, the placement. So between the jitter and the texture, you can create a spray brush. I'm not sure what these do. Those I'm not sure. And then stabilize stroke. So if we go back to dots and stabilize, this is lazy mouse.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So the jitter on. Increase that, decrease that, use it with spacing, right? Get a really clean stitch going if this was a baseball or something.
Yeah.
I'm gonna clear my sphere. I'm gonna turn off symmetry so I have more workspace. let's see, what else is there? There's anchored. So anchored is drag rectangle.
Oh, nice.
Line, you just draw a line. I'm going to apply it. I can bring the spacing down or push the spacing up to get a smoother or a cleaner line. And then curve is really cool. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to pick crease brush. I want to give it a really sharp fall off. And we're going to change this to curve. I come over to my tool settings and I come down to stroke. So all this over here is the same as up here. So I have my brush settings, my texture settings, my stroke settings, dyne topo. All this over here under this icon is up here on this bar. Another cool thing you do. So let's say you get really good at Blender, like you know all the stuff, you know all the shortcuts, you know what's up. You got everything you need in your quick select that you need to have in your quick select. You can hit Control Space over a window and it will maximize that window. So all these windows, I can just hit Control Space, maximize that, Control Space, maximize this. And then you hit Control Alt Space, it's going to
Oh, nice.
maximize it and remove everything. So I say we lost everything except our gizmos over here, but I can just hit T to bring the tool palette back.
Oh, nice.
And then I can readjust this how I like it. And then over here, if you hit N, it's going to bring up options. And in options, that's normally you go to you can kind of think of this as like your channel editor. This is where you manage most of your keyframes. Here's where you can pick what kind of rotation order you want, right? And then under view is how you can control your viewport camera. You can change the focal length and all of that. But under tool brings up the settings of whatever tool you have equipped. So all that stuff, I might have lost it up here, but it's back over here. And I can just bring that up whenever I would need to adjust something. So I've got my ball of clay and I've got all my brushes and I can just get to work. No clutter.
Yeah, that is awesome.
And then one other thing, usually the first thing I add to my quick selects, if you come up to window, man, I really wish my eye had this. You have toggle full screen. I'm gonna right click, add to quick favorites, and I can hit Q and I can turn on full screen whenever I want.
Oh,
And it gets
nice.
gets rid of everything.
That is
And
nice.
then if I hit Alt Control Space, now I've got maximum real estate, baby. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, I'm really getting those 22 inches out of that monitor.
Right. Well, I've only got 16 inches, so I really, I really appreciate the extra few pixels.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I got sidetracked. So curve. So I just wanted to show you that all this is over here because I don't believe you can control the curve from stroke. Oh, you can. You can. So you don't need to come over here. You can just come down here and go to stroke and go. You could either pick a curve that you've already drawn, like a NURBS curve, or you can draw a new one. So this drop down would be where you could select any curves that are already over here in your outliner. Then I think we hit new, draw curve, and I can just hold down Control and not left click but right click, and you can drag out a NURB or a Bezier curve. Make whatever I want, something like that. I can edit it however I need to. I can move these points and select everything and scale it down, grab it, rotate it. The one thing you got to keep in mind when you do this is this NURBS or this Bezier curve is it's attached to your viewport. So wherever I move the viewport, all right. So you got to make sure you got this, just like a stencil. You want to get this lined up exactly how you want it. And then when I know how I want it, I can hit enter and it will draw the curve. So if I wanted to put some stitching on a bag or a jacket, that's how I do that. And you can keep hitting enter and it's going to keep drawing a stroke through. Now the one thing I don't know how to do yet, I'm sure there's a way, is Say in ZBrush, if we had like a baseball and you wanted to draw stitching consistently over the baseball without having to like rotate and then like readjust and all that, it has that UV mode, that UV unwrap. So you can just tell it to flatten out the UVs of the object and you can paint right on the UVs. I don't know how you could do that in Blender. I'm afraid if you want to get like stitching over a baseball, you're just gonna have to like try and line up your shot. You're gonna have to get really good at drawing, but still pretty cool, pretty cool. And to get rid of it, I think we just come over here and we hit X, and then change our stroke back to, you know, something else. So what we're doing, that's right, we are making a custom brush. So we're really, to get any kind of value out of it, to really see what it's doing, we're going to need an alpha. I'm going to hit new. So here's the thing. So ZBrush comes with a bunch of alphas already in it. You just hit the drop down, pick your alpha, assign it to your brush. When you're done with it, get rid of it. Blender does not come with alphas yet, but if you have your own library of alphas, you can add it. You don't have to file. And we're gonna go edit, excuse me, preferences. And then down here is file paths. And here you can set a bunch of stuff. If you have an image editor, like you want to modify your textures, and keep them live linked into Blender, you can like add Photoshop, GIMP, Krita right in here. You just search for the executable. You can choose where you want your renders to go, where your scripts are stored, your textures. Blender does not create a default project directory, so you have to make one on your own, and this is kind of where you set that up. But the big thing right here is textures. If we come in here, and I'm going to go to where I keep my alphas, I'm going to go to projects, my D drive, I'm going to go to art and design, computer graphics, assets, alphas. I'm going to hit accept. Here's all my alphas. So now, anytime I go to a section inside Blender where it wants to look for textures, by default, it will start there. And that is going to be important when we come up here to texture. So you can't just grab an alpha yet. Right now you have to make a texture slot. So I'm going to hit new. And this creates a new texture slot. I'm going to name it, and we'll name this, we'll just call it custom. I haven't quite decided what we're going to use yet. You know, we'll call it splatter. We'll leave it on tile. We're just going to leave it alone for now. We just need the texture slot. And now, what that has done, if we come over to our tools and we go to texture, actually, I really should show you how it goes from here. So I want to clear this out. So by default, you come here, there's no texture assigned. You come in, you hit create new to create a texture slot. You name it. Custom. And then, so these are just different slots. These aren't different textures. Let's see, custom splatter. Where did it go? Oh, that's right. Once you have this set, your slot, you now have to come down to the texture tab. And now you see we have splatter selected, and we can come and grab whatever texture slot we have in the project. And right here it says type image or movie. And from here, we can select an image, or we could select any of these procedural textures. So these should look familiar: clouds, magic, marvel, musgrave. You can, not blend, let's do clouds. I can come in here, and I can use this 3D texture to kind of create something if I don't have any alphas. Let's go to color ramp. It's gonna really bring up the contrast on here. And now we have a texture.
Nice.
Yes. So that's one way to do it. You can come in here and create any kind of texture you want using, or any kind of texture you can manage using these, to really kind of bring it out. I'm going to Let's make this nice and Voronoi. Crackle. Yeah. It's got a subdivision modifier. Multi-resolution. Let's bring this up. So one thing, so in the current release, right down here, it'll show you how many polys you have, just like how in ZBrush it says it up at the top. It does not say it down here in the alpha. I don't know where that information is, but normally it's right here. It'll show your faces, your tries, and your vertexes. Generally, all your information, your metadata is down here. I'm not going to apply it. I'm just going to draw. So you can get a nice 3D texture. And because it's 3D, it tiles perfectly, right? You can see I can just drag it out and it'll keep going. And if I change this stroke to anchored, go over here, flat. Another thing, so this is a problem I also have in ZBrush. When you pull out a brush stroke, it's kind of like really, really pushing up on the sculpt. On that, there's this sample bias under texture. If you just pull that all the way down to -1, it's just going to paint the texture right on the surface without creating, without deforming the profile as much. I'm going to make that not quite so strong.
Nice.
Yeah, it's kind of pointless to drag dot because it's a 3D texture. It's always going to be absolutely perfect, it's kind of the point of the 3D textures, of the what's that called? How have I forgotten? Procedural. Change this back to space. Or no? Yeah, space. Let's bring the spacing up to. Actually, no. Let's leave it on dots. So I don't want procedural texture. I want an image texture. And from here, I can hit open, and it's already in the folder where all my alphas are. You should, once you set that, it might be because I need to reset Blender, but you wouldn't have to hit open. You just hit this, and it's going to show you the alphas that are in your directory.
Nice.
But it's not doing that for some reason. That's okay. I'm going to open.
When it works, yeah.
And I'm going to change my... Why isn't it set to thumbnails? Thumbnails, there we go. So there's some alphas. I made a couple of these. This is one I just made by painting in Krita. I just hit a black square and just put some varying rough, like, white dots on there.
Nice.
And then here's, this is just a torus. I modeled a torus, or I created a torus, flipped it horizontally, and then I just did a mist render pass to get this alpha. So the mist render pass will create a volumetric field around your object.
Yeah.
And then it will just create a black and white image, and whatever's closer to the camera will be white, and farther from the camera will become dark. And so that's in Blender, because Blender does not have a grab alpha like ZBrush has, that's generally how you're going to make alphas in Blender. So if you sculpt something on the surface here and you really like it and you want to make an alpha of it, you're going to have to set a camera right there and then do a mist render.
That's
so a little,
cool, though.
Yeah.
That's
probably
really
easier
cool.
just do it in Photoshop, but what are you going to do?
You're already in
So
Blender.
I grabbed the stitch alpha, didn't I? Creature scene, brush texture. Why is it not working? That's because it's on. Stroke, dots, base. I am in sculpt mode, yes. Well, that's not what the preview's supposed to be. Let's try a different one. Don't know why it's not working. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go to Blender 2.83 alpha or beta. Because I'm having a lot of things not working properly. Things not working how I expect them.
Yeah. A cool tool on a side note, what you were doing just now reminded me of it. In ZBrush, there's a tool called the Transpose Smart Mask, I think, where you can grab height information from a model or an object and just transfer it to another object. So you could like take a 3D sculpted character and use the Transpose Smart Mask and grab its height information and then drop it onto like a sphere or drop it onto a coin or something, and it would create a silhouette of with using the height information of the character or the thing that you grabbed. So it's just like
That is cool.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, just I wonder if there's a function of that in Blender too, because that's just a really handy tool for creating really cool custom shapes and stuff.
I think I have this set to. Yep, there we go. Yeah, I don't think so. That does sound really useful though.
It was by it was one of the real. It was probably one of the guys you showed me that I follow now on YouTube. A really famous sculptor guy he's just always making stuff, and he was just doing it in a weapons tutorial on like a video I saw the other day. I was like, oh man, that's super useful. He just has so much. All these guys just have so much knowledge of these programs, all the tools you can use.
All right. Okay, cool. Actually, you know what? I think I've shown you enough that we can just go into my custom template. So another thing, if you don't know, you can customize Blender however you want. If you want to create more windows, you can just come up to this corner and pull it over. Then you can come up and make another one, as many as you want. And then you hit these drop downs and you can change this to say the UV editor. You can change this one to say the shader editor. You can set up whatever you want. It could be, you know, you can even set up like Maya if you want to like put the outliner on the left and keep your attributes on the right. Do that. You have your playhead on the bottom. But I have a very specific sculpting template that I've made. I put it on the desktop. I've loaded some test sculpt. Yeah, this is my template, but I have one set up that has some sculptures already in it. So this should make things a little easier. So I'm just going to break down what I've done since I've kind of already shown you most of where everything is. I've just dragged out another window over here. And I have this window up here is set to the camera. And it's, so if I come up here, I'm going to check this real quick. It's my silhouette. So I like to keep track, just like in ZBrush up in the top left in the most recent builds, it's got that little silhouette for you. So you can keep track of your shape. Like if you're doing a character design and you want to make sure all the shapes read really cleanly, or maybe you're, sculpting from 2D concept art and you want it to match the 2D image as closely as possible.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to have a silhouette.
Yeah.
And all I did to make this is, not that, but these drop down, I come into just the normal mode. And from here you have Studio, which is how it starts by default. Change this color to material. So this is how it is by default. It's on Studio when you first open up Blender. And then you have matte cap, which is what sculpting is in by default. Here's all your matte caps. This is the same thing over here. Pick whatever matte cap. I recommend the first one. It starts off with the red wax, just like ZBrush. I don't care for it.
Yeah.
I like it to be nice and plain. And then when it's time to like check details, I'll come over to this one. And this one's really great when you have a lot of like really like a lot of wrinkles and stuff. This will really help you kind of see how well things are reading. I might keep it here. But for this one up in the top left, for my silhouette, I don't put it on matte cap. Come all the way here to flat, it'll make it one flat color.
Nice.
And it'll be based on, by default, whatever material you have up, like attached to it. But you could also go to single color and just tell it what color you want it to be.
That is nice.
So I just bring it all the way down to black. And then you can, I like to have an outline on it. You don't have to. Just put an outline again. You could tell it whatever color outline you want. But I like a white one. Because when you have multiple objects, whatever objects you have selected, it'll show you. So you can kind of also check your composition with the outline on.
That's nice.
And the bottom left, this is just if I'm working from a image, I will change this to the image viewer, and I'll put my image in here. And then I got the image, I have my silhouette, and then I have my sculpt. And then I've got a nice clean workflow to keep everything, like to keep my sense of perspective, right? But if I'm just doing a speed sculpt or working from imagination, or maybe I've got my references on, on another monitor and another program, what did I do? You want preview? I'll use this to just keep my entire sculpt in frame at any given time. So this way over here, I might be zoomed in, I might be working on a certain detail. And this, I can just look over here to kind of see, oh, I've been working in one spot for too long. Like this one spot is super detailed and the rest of it's like not been touched.
Yeah.
The other thing up here. So if you hit 0, if you hit on the numpad, the right side of the keyboard, that's where all of your quick navigation tools are. If you hit 5, it'll put you in orthographic perspective, but if you hit 0, it's going to take you to your camera. And so I usually leave this on the camera because I'd be, probably I'm assuming I would be rendering from the camera when this is done. And then if you hit N to bring up your tools, like I said, this is where you can come to control your camera. If you hit lock camera to view, now when I move around and navigate, I'm moving the camera in 3D space so you can see the outline of the camera box is still there. And of course, if I have the camera selected in my outliner, what did I do with it? Here we are. I come into the camera properties. I can turn on depth of field, safe areas.
Oh, nice.
Let's see. Participate. Limits. No. Oh, composition guides. Here we are. So I can turn on my composition guides. I don't know why they're not showing up. It should be slicing up this camera. Let me try. It might be because I made this in the stable version, so these tools might be different. That's the other kind of like tough thing about Blender upgrading so quickly, is you'll put all this effort into making like the perfect startup file for whatever you're doing, and then Blender will upgrade and like half your stuff is broken. But oh, that's life. So I don't know why, but when you click these, just like in Maya, you can turn on the grids on the camera to control, like to guide your composition.
Yeah.
These do the same thing, but they're not showing up. Weird. Do I have multiple cameras? Maybe I have the wrong camera selected. Nope. Okay. Well.
But I get what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, we'll get back to what we were doing. So I'm going to click on this guy. Here's all my brushes. And this already has some custom brushes in here. So here I have Stitch. This is what I already showed you. Just draw over. So I just have one already set. So if I have an alpha, I've already got the brush mostly set up to just start drawing stitches or buttons or what have you.
Yeah.
I also have one already set up for anchor, so I can just drop a texture on there, an alpha, and just start putting in. Or if I just want to, like, actually that looks kind of cool.
Yeah, that does.
I don't know what this is. I just sculpted it for this, so I'd have something to like kind of work on.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like Kirby and a Metroid had a baby.
And there's a little Sonic coming out of the back there.
Yeah. So
It's
see all
cool
my
though.
influences
It's
in one
cool.
sculpt.
It looks
Yeah.
almost like it could be a vehicle of sorts, or like a camera, or like a probe of sorts, something like that.
Oh yeah, like a little like alien drone.
Yeah, yeah. Like patrols the hallways and has weaponry and stuff.
It's a music drone. These are speakers.
Ah.
And these are knobs. That's obviously what my subconscious is trying to make.
So if it finds you, it incapacitates you with noise,
Oh yeah.
like Katy Perry or like Jay-Z or something. It just like blasts loud music at you and incapacitates you.
What other brushes do I have? Clay shape. I got a few. I'm trying to think of like maybe there's one in here that's um yeah, so each brush tool has different behavior, obviously. So if you want your custom brush to like be based off of that behavior, you're going to want to create it under that tool. Um,
Yeah.
like for instance, so these are about to drop. So in Blender or in ZBrush, you have polygroups, right? Well, guess what? Now in Blender, you've got polygroups,
Oh man, you just
and
paint
that was
it.
the one thing I was missing because in ZBrush it's so easy to like block things out
Yeah.
and like say you start from like some primitives when you were blocking out when you were doing the massing of like your base mesh, all those separate objects had all their own polygroups and they
Hmm.
stayed when you combine them,
Yeah.
and that made things so much easy. But now
Yeah.
Blender does that.
That's awesome.
And then if you need to change them, you just come in here, and the one thing I don't like is every time you make a new stroke it makes a new polygroup, which I
Oh,
feel doesn't give you a lot of control.
that's tough.
um, but you're probably not going to make polygroups by just painting them on. The way you're
Right.
going to make polygroups is kind of the same way you do it in ZBrush. You're gonna grab your mask. You're gonna mask out an area. Um, you're gonna kind of look at that and go up to my mask functions, and see a lot of these don't have shortcuts. You can add these to your quick favorites.
Yeah.
Um, so normally I have fill mask set to my quick favorites, and I have mask extract
Oh,
out of
nice.
my quick favorites. And so you can slice by a mask. You do all a bunch of some mask extract is relatively new. I'm going to show you that one. All right, I'm going to finish what I was doing first. I'm going to
Yeah.
finish what I was doing first. Okay, so we have this mask, and let's say I put time into this and it's perfect, right? And I sharpened it, or maybe I blurred it. I don't know. Where's mask sharpen? This is stuff I normally have shortcutted.
Oh, it's called
Sharpen
sharpen
mask.
mask. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just did that. I don't have it shortcutted, but I can just hit Shift R. Shift R is repeat. What? I don't know what's happening. Shift R was repeat, or was it Control R? I don't know what that is. Control R. Oh, I know what that is. That's the
And
new remesh tool, or the upgrade to the new remesh tool. I'm still in it though. I guess we're remeshing. I don't know how to get out of that because I just discovered it just now. I'm gonna undo that. Okay, well, you can see we got like a relatively sharp mask. I think it's Control R. Oh God, I just repeated the remesh because that's the last thing I did.
oh no. Oh, it's remeshing your remesh again.
What I wanted to do is really sharpen up the mask with Control R, not Shift R. Shift R is now the interactive remeshing tool, but I don't fucking know it. So you'd mask it out, and then you'd come up to face sets, which face sets is polygroups, and you'd say, here's all your options. You could face set from mask, from visible, from edit mode selection. So you can go into edit mode and select a bunch of polygons or objects, and then come in here and do it. You can initialize. So if you have a bunch of loose parts, right, you just joined all of your primitive objects into one object to start sculpting. You do by loose parts, by materials, by normals. You have all these options to set up your polygroups. But we're just going to do for masked. And that's probably how you'd be doing it most of the time. That's how I do it most of the time in ZBrush. Um, then your mask shortcut. So to make a mask, just grab the mask, you hit M for your mask brush if you want to draw on a mask, and then Control I to invert the mask. Control I said. There we go. So that does it. Not as intuitive as clicking off to the side, but that's your quick favorites if you want to. Just come in right in here.
Still a good shortcut, yeah.
And then Alt M is to clear your mask. And if you don't want to use the brush, you can hit Control, or no, it's B. B for box. And that will box select a mask. And I think if you hit Shift B, that's hide. No. Shift B is zoom, apparently. I didn't know that. Control B? No, Control B is a render. So that's the little render if I just want to render right there. I don't know how to clear that. Alt B.
Oh, no.
I don't know what's that. Okay, Alt B is isolate. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how to clear these. How do I clear this? Alt H. All right, so we're gonna start over.
Yeah. Same thing in ZBrush though. Like before learning what all the shortcuts were for those, I would do those tools accidentally, and I guess I got to start over because I just can't unhide everything, and I don't know how. But it's anyway.
Box hide. If you hover over stuff, it'll show you the shortcut if there's a shortcut. Box hide, Shift spacebar. That's new. That's not how it is in the Shift spacebar.
Oh, of course, it's the space bar. Yeah. It just seems kind of random.
Spacebar is play. Another thing I recommend doing. So if you see, if I hit play, it's now, you can see up in here, it's playing. If I had a playhead down here, it'd be running along.
Yeah.
Go to edit, preferences. And the reason why I'm saying this, all of the animation functions by default have shift. If you want to scrub through your keyframes, it's shift arrow keys. If you want to like jump to the front and back, it's control shift arrow keys.
Oh, nice.
So what you can do is you can come into key map, and instead of making the spacebar play, you can make it tools or search. I like to leave it on tools.
Nice.
And that makes play shift spacebar.
Oh, nice.
So now it's the same as all the other animation tools.
Very nice.
And then if I hit spacebar, it brings up, it basically brings up all the available tools in this mode. So whatever, I can just hit spacebar and select whatever brush I want. If for whatever reason I don't want to come all the way over here. Or if I'm, in this mode, I can just select a brush this way to keep this real estate free over here. But I'm trying to remember the stupid masking shortcuts. That is not spacebar. It says tools is spacebar. This is wrong. Box mask. B, it's B. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Shift 9. Shift 9. Why does it say Shift 9? Alright, box. So box is box mask. You could, of course, just come over here and use these lasso mask. So one thing about lasso mask is it lassos through the whole mesh, and there's no way to turn that off right now. So generally, if you're going to use lasso mask, you're going to come in, you're gonna try and lasso what you want, and then you got to come over and you got to hold down Control to unlasso what you don't want. And in ZBrush, so the opposite is Alt, right? If you have a brush or a tool and you want to do the opposite of its function, you hold Alt. In Blender, you hold down Control.
Okay.
Yeah, so if I'm drawing a mask and then I want to like remove some mask, it's Control.
Yeah.
And then another cool thing that's relatively new to Sculpt Mode in Blender are the transform tools. So I hit Control I and I come to scale. I can now scale what I have selected.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean that's been in ZBrush forever, but we like just got that.
Nice.
So I want to control mirror, control that. And to move this, the other thing is to move this pivot around. So if I wanted to maybe scale it or move it from a different location, you gotta fill the whole thing. So now I can move the pivot
Yeah.
without disturbing the mesh. It's not quite as intuitive as it is in ZBrush, sadly. And then I can clear the mask and then mask what I want.
Nice.
Get a little bit on the top there. And now if I come to the transform tool, this fourth one is just all the transform tools in one package.
Oh, nice.
Now I can like do it from that spot.
Yeah, so your scale are the little blocks and then the rings are your rotate. Okay, yeah. That is neat.
Don't know. Wait, is it just H? I swear to God, if it's just H. Control H. Box hide. Shift B. I could have sworn Shift B was hide. That's driving me crazy.
It's not just control.
I'm just gonna Google that really quick.
Yeah, that's weird. Because you're just trying to use the box tool, but to hide the mask rather than masking more, right?
What's that?
Oh, you're just trying to do the opposite of masking with the box tool, right?
Oh no, I'm trying to hide the mesh. So to select
Oh, okay.
the vertices and just remove them.
Got it. So you can like
Show all, Alt H. See, it says H. To hide a part of the mesh inside the selection.
Maybe they
Show
just
running
changed it or something. That's really weird.
Shift Control left mouse. So the shortcut for it is Shift Control left mouse. That I believe is true. So if I have the brush selected and I hit Shift Control left mouse, yeah. So it's not hiding anything though.
Maybe because part of it's masked. Huh. That's weird.
So I know to hide the mask, I think it's just Control M. Yeah. So the mask is still there, but it's hidden.
That's
so if I come in with the brush, this brush, right? So the mask is still there.
Yeah, nice.
But it's not like...
That's interesting.
It's not distorting my perception of the mesh.
Yeah.
If I hit Control M, it'll bring it back.
Nice. That's interesting. I haven't seen that.
I don't know what hide is. Hide's a big deal when you're sculpting, because sometimes you need to get to... God damn it.
Yeah, like if you're working on a mouth or something and you need to just get rid of the rest of the face. Or anything, really. Any specific part. Got to be able to get around to the other side of a finger and not have the other fingers in the way.
Oh, we're just here. Hide bounding box is H. But it is not. Okay, I don't know why it's not working.
That's bizarre.
Face sets. So when I pressed H, it brought up this. So I think maybe H has something to do with face sets now. Maybe if I can create a mask and then hit H. So one thing you can do, so if I make a face set and I hit H, it'll hide everything except that face set.
Nice.
If I hit Alt H.
You could use that temporarily, right? Like just paint a part of it and just use that. And can you clear that mask anytime you want? Or that poly paint group?
I don't know. Probably.
That's interesting. Or
the documentation on it isn't done yet, so I don't actually know. Like most of these new tools I've learned just from fucking around. So there's this.
Yeah.
This I should probably show you before I get distracted. But this is a cloth brush tool. So I can just come in here.
Oh, what?
And the way it works is, let me decrease the strength here so I don't kill my computer. But so I can just drag out in an area Let me clear my masks. Go away, mask. I drag out an area, it's just gonna...
Oh, what?
At a certain point, it'll start to smooth out and create a procedural wrinkle in just that area.
Wow.
But I can keep pushing in certain spots and we'll look at the existing topology
Oh,
and keep, yeah.
that is
So it's,
so intuitive and so cool.
yeah, this is one of the more like, I won't say brave, but like, it's pretty ingenuitive. This is one of the more ingenuitive things that Blender's
Yeah.
come up with that like
Yeah.
doesn't exist
No, that's
in anything
amazing.
else. Yeah,
That, and it's,
at least
if
that
you
I know
play
of.
with it, that would look really good. I mean, already, just in a few strokes, it looks like wrinkles.
Yeah.
That looks really nice. Oh, man. Oh, man. That's mind blowing.
Oh, so that's what I was trying to do.
Oh,
It says the shortcut is Shift 9, but that can't be real. It was H, but I think H has they've probably reassigned it to draw face sets. So you can just come to Dropbox. You can just come in here and start hiding stuff.
mm-hmm.
There's no lasso select for hide
Huh.
that I know of. I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
But you can get pretty close to what you need with just that.
Yeah.
I keep moving away from the fucking alphas. Okay, we're gonna put Alien Star away here. We're gonna bring out the fish.
That cloth brush was amazing.
Yeah, so the fish
You got me
really,
hooked on that.
really demonstrates the value I get out of these two other windows over here. Because you can see, like, really clearly up in the top how that silhouette plays out.
Yeah.
And if the outline does start to bother me, I just come over and turn it off. Actually, I could probably just add this to quick favorites. Bam.
Nice.
And now I'm over here. If I want the outline, I don't want it.
Nice.
Um,
It's a
but
really
this guy got
cool.
pretty detailed when I was working on him, and I'd get in here and I'd be like up in here, and then suddenly I'd realize, oh man, I've been on the spine for like 20 minutes, and
Yeah.
everything else looks like blob. So that's what this one over here is for. So
Yeah.
I catch myself. And of course, you can come over here and you can assign a different matte cap if you want. Say, like this one. Or maybe skin one. Skin one's interesting.
Yeah.
Turn shadows on and off, cavity.
Nice.
Uh, right, the brush. So we're gonna finish making that stupid texture brush. So I can show you. Like, if it was as easy as it was in ZBrush, I would have been done when I first sat down to do it. But we're gonna go to draw, and I'm gonna just, with the default sculpt draw selected, we're gonna come to tools. I'm gonna duplicate it. Call this flatter, and oh no, we're gonna call this scales. We're gonna use my scales alpha. I'll leave all that alone. Come down to texture, make a new texture slot. Go to the texture tab. That's what's annoying. Like, it should just be here. It should all just be right here under texture. But we still gotta go under here. And then open. Scales. I think I'm crashing. Oh, there we go. There, all right, it works. See, we stopped in the alpha because it wasn't loading the alpha. We stopped in the Blender alpha because it wasn't loading the texture alpha in this window, which
Mm-hmm.
is why it wasn't working. But we have it here, so it means it'll work. So now I want to come into my brush settings, back up here, and I'm gonna just maximize the screen. We don't need those other ones right now, and I'm gonna put that away too. We're just gonna do it up here. Go up to stroke. I'm gonna come to anchored, and we'll give it a smooth fall off is probably fine. Also, when you make a custom brush, you can customize how it looks. You can change the cursor. So the cursor is this blue. If I wanted to, I could make the cursor. I don't know, what's a scaly color? I'll make
Like
it.
a silver or gray yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'll just make it green. I don't know. Um, this is the front faces only. If you have a really thin piece of
Yeah.
geometry,
Yeah.
you just come in here. Same as in ZBrush. Like when you're sculpting on the ear and you actually like press the ear into the back of the ear
Yeah.
on accident. This prevents that. Just like front faces only.
That is nice.
But yeah. I don't want tiled. I want area plane. I could go down to stencil. And when you do stencil, now you see in the bottom left, I have a stencil, just like in ZBrush.
Yeah.
And if I can not middle click, if I right click. If I right click, I can move it. And shift right click, I can scale it. Control right click, I can rotate it. And then I can just paint over it.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's got the bias on though, so we're gonna want
So are you painting? You're painting through the stencil, kind of like what the light box in ZBrush does.
Yeah,
Is that what that
exactly.
is? Okay.
It does do it, so it doesn't do it with color and form. So you can also use a stencil with texture painting, but honestly, I unloaded it. That's okay. Texture. Oh, I didn't unload it. It's right there.
Spotlight. Sorry, not the light box. The spotlight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in Blender, you can use a stencil to paint on textures. You can't do multi-channel information though. So in Sculpt mode, you can only paint height information, and in texture paint, you can only paint color information. Whereas in ZBrush, you can do both with a stencil. I don't think, yeah, the stencils let you do both. No, wait, how's it work? No, in ZBrush, you can paint height data with a stencil, and you can assign material to the height data. So if you had like let's pump over to ZBrush. No, we're gonna finish this. I'm gonna finish this brush. Keep getting distracted from the brush. I don't know why. There.
There's just so many things to talk about. One thing leads to another.
Anchored. Scales, radius. Why is the... Oh, it is there. It's just not loading the image for some reason.
Huh.
That's okay. All right, so all I did is I turned the bias down. So it's not deforming the silhouette of the mess. It's just pressing the color information in.
Nice.
So now we can come in, and now my fish boy's got some scales. Look at that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It was pretty awesome.
Dang.
Actually, that came out pretty good. I might leave it.
That's nice.
Like
I
that.
like the random kind of pattern, because then it's not all uniform.
It doesn't have to be stencil. We can come in, change the stencil to tiled. And now it'll be tiled when I paint it in.
Nice.
Of course, the tile is based on the size of the texture, I believe. So I just increase the brush. There we go.
Nice.
So I'll tile infinitely. Instead of, I can also do... I'm not sure what 3D does. Random. So random is how we'll make the color spray one. So if I do random, it's just going to paint it in at a random. Or if I have... let's go back to the star, the alien, so I can demonstrate on that. There we go. Keep grabbing the top on accident. All right, so if I go to texture, and I turn random, the angle will limit how random it'll go. Like if you only want it to go up to a random value of say like 20 degrees, it'll only place down textures at 20 degrees, but I need to change this to space. That we want. Well, it's not randomizing it, it's just drawing it the same. Space.
Yeah.
Is it? No, it's not.
Oh.
Oh, there we go. I didn't turn on the actual random thing. Actually, I don't think that's what that does. I don't know what that does. I don't know what this random does. I don't know. It doesn't do what I thought it did. I thought I was doing this. Okay, anyway, we're going to change it back to area plane. So now it's going to paint it based on the direction of the sculpture. I'm going to bring the size down. I'm going to bring the strength down a little bit. And now it's placing down the texture at random angles.
Yeah.
And then if I go and I turn on jitter, spacing just a teensy bit. Now it's almost like the color spray.
Oh.
If I come into our alpha and I change it to something a bit more appropriate, texture tab.
So if you make your brush size a lot larger, will it also enlarge the size of your pattern
Yes.
when you're spraying that?
Where are my thumbnails? There we go. I want this one that I made. You know what? This one will probably highlight it more. Let's try that. See if I increase the size of the brush,
Yeah.
it increases the alpha, and strength will increase the depth.
Oh.
So let's make this really strong, kind of small. Just do random.
Yeah. Nice.
Bias is on again. Oh, no, it's not. I guess that just must be in my alpha somehow. Pressing in. Oh well.
Oh, but that works nice. You're getting that nice random effect, that nice pattern.
Yes, yes. I think that's probably about it for alphas. Like not as quick and dirty as ZBrush's is, but you can do it.
Yeah.
I think the fish probably shows it off quite a bit better. You can come in with different just layer alphas on top of alphas if I wanted to. I can put a skin or like some leathery texture on top of that. Let's see. So let's save the worst for last. The thing that I know is going to make my computer crash, and that's Dyne Topo and multi-resolution. So we'll turn these guys off. We'll turn the sculpture back on. And let's see, what does my subdiv look like right now? Not outline.
So Dynatopo is just Dynamesh equivalent, right?
Film aspect. So Dynamesh is the remesher in ZBrush.
Uh-huh.
Dyne Topo is in Blender is the equivalent of Sculptress in ZBrush.
Oh, okay.
So you can control the resolution based on your strokes.
Got it.
What am I doing here? Oh, I need to go into here. All my settings are gone. Viewport display, wireframe, add to quick favorites. There we go. Okay. So it's looking pretty dense already. Yeah, this is dense enough. So I'm going to leave wireframe on while I show off Dyne Topo. So if we come up here, also if you like have a little like running out of space, the middle mouse button and scroll will move these around. And that's true for everything. Middle mouse button and scroll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is nice. I did not know that.
And if you're using a tablet pen and you have a hover, like you don't have to press down, it makes it way easier because you can just, you can just scroll without accidentally clicking on anything, which is how I usually do it.
Yeah.
But here you have your symmetry. You can have X, Y, Z symmetry, and you see it will create dots to show you all around the sculpture where it's going to be working. And then you hit the drop down next to this, you can tile it. So now you've created like a grid. So if you're working on a plane or like a flat surface, you could use the tiling to kind of repeat the same pattern.
Nice.
And ZBrush has all these same functions.
Yeah.
Lock, you can lock to a certain, I've never used this before, but you could like lock to the X. So if you're sculpting, you can only sculpt on an X plane relative to your sculpture. So if your strokes continue outside of that plane, they'll just stop.
Nice.
I've never used it, so I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds really specific.
Of course, you could symmetrize. So if you fucked up one half of your model, you don't have to use the mirror modifier or cut it or anything. You just come up here, you pick whichever axis you want to mirror on, and you hit symmetrize. Based on here, you pick your axis right here, and bam.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So the last thing. So let's go into options real quick. I'm not sure. There's a bunch of new stuff in here. Threaded Sculpt uses all of your the processors. Like it uses all the threads, cores. I don't know. In your just leave that on. Basically, Fast Navigate. If you have a multi-resolution modifier assigned, then it will temporarily turn off whenever you're navigating to preserve performance. Generally, I leave that on. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. All of these are new. I don't know what any of this stuff. Face set auto masking. All that stuff is new. I don't know what's going on. Like these three were the only ones that are in there in the stable release currently. All right, let's start with Dyne Topo. So I'm going to, if we come over here, it's up here and it's down. Let's grab our default brush just to be safe. It's right here. And the shortcut is Control D. And you cannot, just like in ZBrush, it's one or the other. You can't do multi-resolution and Dyne Topo, just like you can't do subdivs and Sculptress. It's got to be one. So if you had a multi-resolution on there, you got to commit, and then you're going to come into Dyne Topo. Most people I see, just like Jan, he just Dyne Topo the whole way. A lot of people I see who use multiple software will start off in the multi-resolution up to 2, maybe 3 subdivs, and then they'll switch to Dyne Topo and use Dyne Topo to kind of like decrease detail where there doesn't need to be as much detail.
Yeah. And
then use it to increase detail as they move farther along in their sculpture.
Yeah.
So I'll demonstrate that. But let's just, this is already pretty subdivided, so we'll just, we'll say I just came out of multi-res, and I can come to Dyne Topo and turn it on. And by default, it's set to relative detail. The relative detail is based on where your viewport is to the mesh. So if I sculpt right here, you can see it's subdividing. If I go in farther, subdivide even smaller.
Yeah.
If I come out super far, it's actually simplifying it.
Oh, wow.
So that's how that works. And then over here is a Dyne Topo brush. And I believe it only works in Dyne Topo, I'm not sure. But it's just a simplify brush. So you can come in here and just use it to simplify or to conform an area without, it doesn't actually change the topography.
That's
it
nice.
It just will make something uniform.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how you, maybe strength? I don't know. So I haven't used it that much, so
Yeah.
I don't actually know. It might, maybe it's relative to our Dyn topo settings. Increase it.
Is there actually a function to change the oh, okay, to like change
Okay, it is. Yeah. So
the level
this
of...
brush only works in Dyn topo, and it's relative to what your settings are set to. So I can just come in here and make, if I want an entire area to be simpler,
Nice.
just, yeah.
That's...
Or if I want it to be, if I need more resolution in one area, I just drag it down. Like maybe here is going to be like a lot of wrinkles or something, and then out here it's just smooth.
Yeah, or like the mouth or something. Need those corners and creases.
Yeah. And I actually don't like working this way. I like to work, so I never change these. I don't even know what these do. But right here is detailing relative detail. I change it to constant detail. What this does is it doesn't matter how far away I am, it's always exactly the same.
Nice.
And then I can control, or that's remesh, I can control how much detail right here. So I think by default it starts at 20, which is pretty low resolution. Change it to this guy. Let's use the draw. So this second one, draw sharp, it's the damn standard brush. It's what's modeled after the damn standard brush. So I mean, it does the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just like a really strong, sharp version of. I guess it's more like a really focused version of the crease tool. It behaves just like the damn standard brush, but with constant detail, I'm just sculpting. Doesn't matter how far away I am. And then when I'm ready to move up to the next level, I just gradually increase this. So maybe 50 for the next level. Damn set or not work with Dyn topo. Not all the brushes work with dynamic topology. Apparently the damn standard brush does not work with dynamic topology. That's fine. You see now it's the same amount of detail. And then when I'm ready for the next level, I'll increase it to 80. And if you are really conscious about this, you can work really well on Dyn topo without ever taking any kind of performance hit. But having Dyn topo on does slow down the computer. It is much faster to leave this off. So what some people do is they'll just they'll get certain areas to the level they think they'll need, and then they'll just turn Dyn topo off, and then they'll just sculpt on things as it is to keep their speed going.
Yeah.
But the other thing you can do, what I kind of do, which is probably not good, is you could just use detail flood fill. And I'll just select, let's say 82, detail flood fill. I'll wait a second. It'll flood the entire mesh to that detail level.
That is nice.
And then I'll turn Dyn topo off.
Oh, wow.
And so still a little bit of a hit because this is a lot of points.
Yeah.
But still don't have to have Dyn topo on, which is the big thing. That's what really slows the computer down. And then when I want to go up to the next level, I'll turn Dyn topo back on. And I'll go to a higher level. Maybe 100, 110 is fine. Do another detail flood fill. And smooth shading will it smooths the normals. It's the same as doing it in object mode. And I'll turn Dyn topo. So you can kind of see maybe there I was having a little bit of a lag. Here, turn Dyn topo off. The thing is, Dyn topo takes a long time. Turn the wire off and then I'll work at this detail. And then I usually cap it at 200. I don't go higher than 200 on this computer. Starts to get, that's for me when I'm out running like OBS or anything in the background, that's when it starts to get a little slow, is above 200.
Okay.
But your mileage may vary. I'm going to turn wireframe back on. Another thing I should mention is constant detail and relative detail are opposite. So on relative detail, the lower the number is, the denser you're going to make the mesh. And the higher the number is, the simpler the mesh is going to be. So you see 4 is that's relatively complex. On constant detail, the lower the number, the simpler the mesh. The higher the number, the more complex. But that's how Topo works. So now we're going to take a look at Remesher, which is new, which makes things so much simpler. So let's say I've sculpted everything. I'm pretty happy with it. But this is just way too much. And it's all triangles. Look at all these triangles. I don't have time for these triangles. Come to the quad remesher, or the voxel remesher. And I'm going to leave smooth normals off. But I can do preserve face sets now. That's new. I don't have any face sets, so I'll turn that on. Paint mask, that's new.
Face sets?
So that's polygroups.
Oh, okay.
This little group right here.
Got
they can't have the same name. I'm sure it's probably some legal thing.
Yeah, probably.
But that's what it is. It's face sets or polygroups.
Got it.
So I guess if you're gonna remesh, you got to make sure that's checked. Doesn't look like it comes checked by default. But here's my voxel size. I don't know how to, like in ZBrush, if it says 3, it's 3000.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what this number means. I just know by default it comes at 0.1, and that is not enough. Also, there's this brush right here. You can grab this brush, and it'll give you the relative amount. So it just dropped it to 0.6. But we want to simplify this. So I'm going to change it to 0.1, and I'm going to hit remesh. And it's going to remesh the entire thing into quads. Eventually. It's slow.
And I just discovered the remesh trick in Maya the other day. On some video, some guy was like, "Oh, type in poly remesh or poly retopo into your mel, and it just retopologizes or remeshes." Oh man,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I just found that out the other day.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write that down on a notepad real quick.
Yeah, poly remesh and poly retopo, but the R in remesh and retopo is capitalized. So actually, a really handy trick for that is if you have two objects and you want to combine them, you do a Boolean and a union between the two, so it smushes them, combines them together with a Boolean, and then you do poly remesh and then poly retopo, and it cleans it up really nice. It might be the opposite. It might be retopo first and then remesh, but it works really well for certain objects, like combining a couple spheres together, and then it just turns them into one solid wireframe. It looks really nice.
That sounds cool.
Yeah,
that I gotta give it a shot.
Yeah, I've been playing with that one. I was like, oh man, this saves so much time.
The voxel remesher. So you can see it just simplified everything, and it's all quads.
Yeah, that looks great.
But it destroys detail. So just like in ZBrush, you got to kind of play with it when you're remeshing.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go back.
See, it kind of
before I remeshed it.
There's no real edge loops anymore.
Yeah. And all right, so we're gonna come back. I'm gonna sculpt some detail into this guy, just so we can give me that damn standard. There we go.
Yeah. Some nice creases in there.
Just some kind of shape.
It's like an Egyptian keyhole.
Yeah.
Anchor thing. It's beautiful.
It's an alien.
An alien.
I don't know.
Well, whatever it is, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's give it some. I'm not gonna spend too much time. I'm just gonna grab the pinch tool and kind of make sure there's some sharp detail. I just want some areas to be really close together, so I have to struggle with the remesher. Because you'll get places where, like the lips touch. You know what? I should just remesh the stupid alien. What am I doing? That's why I brought these in here, so I already have something with detail. Okay, we have our alien. I fucked them up pretty bad with the cloth brush. What are you gonna do? Okay, so we're gonna hit the remesher. Let me check the wireframe on this guy. All right, so he's pretty dense. Looks like I've already remeshed him, but we're gonna come up to remesher, and you're gonna see how in these spots where it's close together, it's gonna kind of lose some detail in a way similar to. Let's try 0.05 first. Oh wait, that's right. There's an interactive tool. It was Shift R. We're gonna give that a shot. Okay, that's cool. That's brand new.
That's
When I was trying to I was trying to repeat the mask earlier, the mask smooth that brought this up. So you can kind of see an overlay of what it's going to give you.
oh, that's crazy.
That's cool. So I'm going to try. Let's try 0.25 about. Did it do? I'm not sure. Did it do?
Is it just like a measuring tool, or did it actually apply?
It should. As far as I understand, you hit Shift R to start the remesh function, the interact, and then as soon as you select, it should remesh. Okay, I'm not gonna fuck with it. Maybe it's not done yet. Maybe it's just got that part.
Just a
But we're gonna
visual guide.
try 0.03 remesh. Yeah, there we go. So see now it remeshed it. We've lost a lot of information.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same as a remesher in ZBrush.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of play around. So is that 0.3? Let's bring it down to. Why does it keep going up? Try 0.15 remesh. Oh, we just lost. I just blew out everything. Okay. Let's try
tin can.
0.015. Let's just try 0.005. Actually, I think that's what it's already remeshed to. I think when I did the sculpt originally. Oh no! Wait for the program. It was inevitable. It's going to crash.
I felt it coming.
I'm actually surprised. So the stable version never crashes on me, but there we go. Yeah, I think it was already at 0.005 when I remeshed it. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. I think that's pretty much everything that I was going to go through. I mean, there are brushes, brush tools, alphas.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Dying topo.
full-fledged now, man. That's impressive that Blender offers all of this stuff. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. Trying to think if there's anything I forgot. Yeah, so the basic workflow, for me at least, when I do it, so I'll start with a base mesh, and I'll throw the multi-resolution tool on there. I'll subdivide it once, twice, maybe 3 times. And then I'm done with the multi-res, and I get rid of it, or I apply it, I should say, and then I switch over to Dying Topo. And then what I do is the first thing I do before I go to Dying Topo, I remesh the whole thing. I try and find a spot that works, that gets rid of all the detail that I don't need from the multi-res. Then I go into Dying Topo, and I start gradually pushing the detail up in certain areas. And then when I hit a spot, but usually before I go up to the next level, I'll remesh. And I'll kind of play with it until I find a spot that gets me the minimum amount of polygons without losing any detail. And then I'll increase Dying Topo. Or there's the sloppy way I do things, which is the way I usually do it for Speed Sculpt, which I just come up to Dying Topo, and I just flood this with any given detail. I usually start with 20, and then I move up to 80, and then 100, up into 200 for the final details.
Yeah.
But that's... My computer can take that, so I do it. Yeah. I probably should work on being more efficient about that.
Oh,
But
that's
that's what you
still a
do.
pretty efficient workflow though. Starting low,
Yeah,
working high like that. Yeah.
but it's pretty close to ZBrush. When I'm sculpting in ZBrush, I kind of think about things the exact same way that I think about them. Or I should say, when I'm sculpting in Blender, I think about things the same way I think about them in ZBrush.